Good afternoon, Ruth.
Good afternoon. Shalom, Maoz. Shalom, everyone that is watching us. We are happy and honored to be studying together in honor of Rabbi Steinsaltz, who I think both of us love very much. And it's a privilege to study with you, Maoz.
Thank you. Thank you. What a nice opportunity to meet you and to talk with you in person.
And the best way to meet and talk is with a page of Talmud. And so we were thinking together when we chose the page, that the question that we want to look at is the question of who Torah is for. Who is the scholar that should be studying today? Is it for everyone? In my personal life, the Steinsaltz edition of Talmud has enabled me to come into Talmud, because before I couldn't even read. And so I'm so grateful for that. And so I'm happy to look at this story in the Tractate of Brachot, Kafchet 28a. Let's read it together and then jump into the questions.
Yes, and maybe I'll give my short sentence of introduction. When I talked, I was thinking about that you approached Steinsaltz through the Talmud, which was really opening gates of knowledge for everyone, which was maybe a project of simplification or accessibility. And I have also met Steinsaltz as a person who was actually a very multi-layered person, not a simple man in any sense, very multi-layered and complex personality and complex and sophisticated. So maybe this tension is also part of our dialogue regarding the passage from the Talmud. Okay.
I agree. I think both of us had the privilege of talking to him and studying with him at least a little bit. And I see his face now when we're studying, and I hope he'll be joining the study also. So let's start. תנא אותו היום סילקו לשומר הפתח וניתנה להם רשות לתלמידים להיכנס. It has been taught that same day they removed the doorkeeper of the college of the Bet Midrash, and permission was granted for the disciples to enter. For Rabban Gamliel had issued a proclamation, a disciple who is not inwardly the same as outwardly, she'ein tocho kevaro, will not be allowed to enter the house of study. So the picture, the opening scene of our study today is a Bet Midrash, maybe the most important one in Yavne. Rabban Gamliel is the head of the Bet Midrash, and there is a guard at the gate, like in clubs, that doesn't let everyone in. And and it's written, this is, I learned from Professor Gafni that on the gate of the Greek academia, it said, whoever is not geometrical will not come in. Misha no geometry. And Gafni thought that the rabbis know that, and it's their inspiration to write whoever is not inside what he is outside, which is a bit mathematic or geometry, will not enter. And so some people were inside and some people were not allowed to enter. What do you think of this scene?
Yes, first of all, we are facing a huge moment of a crucial change, because that day is the day in which Rabban Gamliel was replaced. I mean, the old one.
Just a minute, I'm just in the opening scene when there is a gatekeeper.
Yes.
That's the picture.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
You're right. It says that you're right. They already said that, but it's okay. Sorry.
Yes. Maybe we can be for a while in that situation where there is a doorkeeper, and there is a logical way to understand it. I mean, and here the demand is not the Greek demand for be equivalence in geometry or something like that, but the Hebrew one from Masechet Avot, right? You just be what you are.
Be authentic.
Don't be hypocrite and not. And this is something which is addressed, I must say, which echoes the culture of Talmidei Chachamim. I mean, for a simple man, we don't have to ask him to be just as he is, because he's authentic, just as he is. And the Torah has its cautious, its problems, its internal complexity with being so equivalent and so sophisticated, sometimes to be where you can use it, or you can be lost in. You can be lost in the Torah.
That's so interesting. So you say that the challenge of authenticity is a special challenge for Talmidei Chachamim, for scholars. I think in the beginning, when he let some in and didn't let some others in, some of it was because of where they were born and whose family, and I guess, our people are allowed in, and also the ones that are halachic, that are rabbinic, that would do in the inside what they study in the outside. In both ways, the way I read it is that my people, both as women, 50% of the Jewish world, and as non-halachic, non-rabbinic, in other words, secular Jews, we were all left out. Although, if you would ask me if many of us are inside what they are outside, we are. Authenticity, goes to many places, and some people are, some people aren't. But it was a gated community. It was a community that keeps its richness to itself. And as you said, this is the day that it was opened, and they threw away the gatekeeper and let anyone who wants to study to come and study. I can't avoid thinking about Rabbi Steinsaltz and the Talmud, that I was just the right age when it came about, and I could read, I could understand. It was translated, and it was, with full stops and commas and things that the Vilna edition didn't have. And without a mediator, we could walk in and read it. And so for me, I feel that in my life, I saw that day.
Yes, this is something very, very, very powerful. I emphasize through your words that sometimes we need a mediator, and Rabbi Steinsaltz was a mediator, to open the gates. I mean, open the gate is not just the simplest, democratic declaration to say everyone is welcomed. You can say it forever, and nothing would happen. Or sometimes you need to take on your to take on your shoulders this mission to open the gates for someone else, for someone.
That the opener came from the inside.
Yes.
Sorry, I stopped you.
No. I just wanted to emphasize that point.
Right, that the man that opened came from the inside and not from the outside. But in this day in Yavne, Rabban Gamliel did not decide to open, but it was some kind of a revolt, some kind of something that came from the bottom up, right?
Yes.
We don't know exactly who.
Yes, Rabbi Lazar ben Azariah, the new head of the Bet Midrash, is actually emphasized a revolution. And just as you said, opening the gates is not only the need of people who are considered outside. It actually came from within, because the Torah itself has a problem, like water, has a problem of being not moving by itself, being stable, too stable.
Like a mikveh, if it's not mixed with water that is alive, that comes from...
Yes, being too successful. Yes, too successful, like academia life sometimes, right? So high and so successful. So the problem, I think, the death of Rabbi Lazar ben Azariah's attitude is actually to recognize that Bet Midrash itself needs the vitality which can be found by using opening gates.
Opening the gates, and I feel it at Alma, where I study. We called it Alma because it's the world, And Alma is not only the people inside, but opening the windows to the street outside. Let's take it forward. Yeah. So that day, once they let the guard, they send him away. That day, many
branches, I think.
Benches, yes. Right. How many benches? Rabbi Yochanan says, Abba Yosef ben Dostai and Rabbanan had different views. One said 400 benches, and the other one said 700 benches, which is amazing. Imagine your academia or Alma when 700 benches, so it's many more people, suddenly entered whom we didn't even know that they are outside and they want to study. And the house is full, and it's all like a kind of a carnival day of study. Something very, also like a little bit like Purim Torah. They let the rabbi out and everybody is suddenly, it looks like it's democratic and there's no head and everybody is equal, and so many new people. There's the excitement and feeling of Torah alive. And so Rabban Gamliel, the head, his mind weakened, chalsha da'ato, and he says, Dilma chas v'shalom, manati Torah Yisrael. God forbid, maybe how do they say it here?
I have withheld Torah from
Israel.
From the people of Israel. Yes, I prevented Israel from studying the Torah. Yes.
So when he was in closed doors, he didn't think that there are people outside that would even want to come. That's interesting. There's the feeling that we are the guardians.
This is a very ambitious moment, actually, because you talked about the people who were added, but you can now open your door. Who will enter? This moment also signifies the temptation, the power, the curiosity, the power, the temptation power. Now we can ask, what actually have made this temptation towards the Torah? What made you now, our collaborators for studying, to open your Zoom today? Yes, what was the power, the temptation of Rabbi Steinsaltz's personality and works, which actually motivated all of us to open the books, to open to the virtual or to the real Bet Midrash. So Rabban Gamliel is part of the story. He's not the bad man in the story who says everything will be. He actually was part of the process of making this temptation, which now was so highly and affected or accessible.
That's interesting. I think many times the Rabban Gamliels feel that they are the guardians of the truth, of the treasure, and that if they will not guard it, nobody will be interested in it. And I think it is an amazing surprise that once the door opened, you understand that there are many people out there that care about this treasure just as you do, and they want to share it. They want to take responsibility. They want to be partners and maybe say to Rabban Gamliel, you can take a week off. You can, it's summer. You can do a vacation.
You can enjoy. You can be part of.
We are taking care of it. We love it just as much as you do. And many times, I think when we are the grown-ups, we are afraid that the young generation will not be interested. And sometimes because we try so hard, we keep them away. Anyway, what I love about this story is that he says, God forbid, maybe I prevented Israel from studying Torah. And then they sent him in a dream an image of white vessels filled with black ashes.
Yes,
and to give him the idea that the people looked nice on the outside of these 700 benches, people sitting on them, but actually inside they are worthless. I'm interested in who are the they that sent the dream. It seems here that there is a dream committee that sends people dreams in accordance with what you need. Tonight, you will need to think about something. So the dream committee will say, Maoz Kahana will send him a lion that sits together with a rabbit. Because
yes, I think you run too fast. I mean, to ignore the message of the dream. I mean, if
I just wanted to say somebody sent it, but let's talk about the dream, please.
Yeah, I mean, Talmud emphasizes here in a very multi-layered way some different voices, right? One voice is Rabban Gamliel, the other is Rabbi Lazar ben Azariah. One voice is of the dream committee who sent him the dream about those ashes, those jars, and the other one is what is named usually as Stama, the
Talmud itself, the narrator.
The Talmud itself, which gives one additional layer when says it wasn't true. He was shown this to relieve his mind. It wasn't
amazing.
True.
We sent the dream not because they were really not serious people, but because we want to give him a peace of mind. I think that's full of sense of humor.
It's full of sense of humor and yet a little bit obscure, because till the end we know it was sent him to relieve his mind, but we are still not said that it wasn't true.
No, they say velahi, and it wasn't so.
No, the Talmud doesn't. Velohi.
Look here in the page. It says, "Chas v'shalom anati Torah miYisrael." I will say it in English. Perhaps, God forbid, I have withheld Torah from Israel. He was shown in a dream, white pitchers full of ashes. It was not really so, but he was shown this to relieve his mind. Velahi.
Yes. No, by saying velohi, by saying it was not really so, we do not say it was the opposite. I mean, we are still facing something which is in question. I would say that the Talmud is full of humor here, and also leaves us with an open question. I would recommend you one of the nicest books of Rabbi Steinsaltz, which he wrote with the late historian Amos Funkenstein, Historia של הבערות, the history of ignorance or shallowness. And there they both emphasize that the shallowness or ignorance is an internal part of every culture, what we know and we don't know. And do we really think if we open the gates, do we really, does everything is now solved? No. I would emphasize the dream for a little bit, even just for a hava amina. I mean, you open the gates. Maybe you lose something. I mean, you see in a dream that people around you in the Beit Midrash are very nicely talking, like in an American university nowadays, right? They know to talk about everything, but they are empty. I mean, it is so. And the problem, and I would emphasize that, because I think in Talmud eyes, the opposite of Torah is not secularism or any other part, or libertarianism or any other part of ideology. The opposite of the Torah is shallowness, is emptiness. If someone thinks different like you, it is a part of a discussion. But if your own Bet Midrash becomes so shallow, people are talking nicely, but there's no tocho kevaro, there's no authenticity. Sorry, and this is a major problem.
I hear you, but if I read the text in front of me, I want to say two things. One, my teacher Frankel always said that see why between the two options, which one is stronger as a written text, and to read Velahi as no, they were not shallow, they were serious people, but we sent him the dream just to relieve his mind, I think is stronger as sifrut, as literature. But look at the next sentence. Tana, the writer says, Eduyot, if you can give us one more sentence.
Yes, yes.
That day, it was taught that the same day, Eduyot, the tractate of Eduyot was learned, and wherever we find the phrase on that day, it refers to this occasion, there was not a halacha which had been left in a state of uncertainty in the house of study. So it wasn't just a day of shallowness. It was a day full of inspiration. It was the day of answers. It was like a holiday of scholarship. And I hear you for the Hava Amina, but I want to say as a woman that it is painful to hear things like that if we'll open Torah for women, it will be, it won't be us, the guys. It will seem to us maybe more shallow, but shallow and deep people were born in different genders and in different communities. And gated communities, I think always, like in this story of Baba Batra we talked about, gated communities always lack in inspiration because they are closed. I know that you are not that type at all, but here, so it was a day of study, and Rabban Gamliel didn't leave for a minute, didn't even for 1 hour. And that's very beautiful and modest of his part.
Yes.
Though his seat was taken, he took part as one of the people. I don't know. I love it. It's beautiful. Yes, when did you quote Rabbi Lazar ben Azaria? I didn't. What did you just say it because of the end of the story?
No. I'm just no. I think we have to finish. But just to say that it really feels like a Jewish Woodstock, right? A huge day of amusement, and amusement on this sense is also something which is very important for intellectual productivity. I mean, things happen in the Bet Midrash, and I would say a word about Rabbi Steinsaltz's contribution. I mean, opening the gates. You talked about female, about secular people or people without any background, and I would say that Mishnah tells us, "Hizaharu bivnei aniyim shemehem tetzeh Torah." Be careful with people who came from a poor background. The Torah will emerge. From them, the Torah will emerge. So when we open the gates, I mean, we lose the sense of we know who can do and who can't, and this is a very vital part of opening the gates. It's not to ignore. I mean, the hierarchy knowledge appears to have in any sense of knowledge. I mean, if just you can ask today, every knowledge is open, but no, knowledge ever have to be mediated and given by a huge human effort, which Rabbi Steinsaltz took himself. I think we both take each in his own part. We feel parts of this mission. But then, if you open the gates would not. Hierarchy will be changed somehow. People some of the people you meet are empty vessels. Maybe yourself sometimes it feels like an empty vessel. Some others are hidden treasures. And Bnei Aniyim from every part of society, from surprising biography, will emerge and bring new Torah. So I think
I want to say amen to that. And thank you, Maoz, for studying together. And thank you, Rav Steinsaltz, Zichrono Livracha, for letting us study and bringing us in and opening the gates. And thank you, everyone who was here with us for this short study.
Yes, thinking about Rabbi Steinsaltz in heaven, you talked at the beginning that he might be with us. I think if he would sit here, I mean, he would never see the things as we see that. He would never.
Maybe he would. He was a surprising scholar.
Yes, but I'm sure it was he would have rejoice and happiness. And he would say, and we would say with him, L'chaim. So L'chaim. Yeah.
L'chaim is a good way to end. תודה, מעוז.
תודה, רות.